2001 Bassmasters Tournament Trail, presented by Long John Silver's. This is the Bassmaster Western Invitational, brought to you by Evertroll.
Welcome to the final Bassmasters Western Invitational on the California Delta. I'm your host, Fish Fishburne, and we're set for an exciting final round of competition this morning. Let's go to Reed Ryan, who was at this morning's launch.
Hey, thanks, Fish. We're here with our leader, Robert Lee. Robert, are you nervous going out on the water for the final day? You got a pretty big lead.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I'm just going to settle down and go fishing, try to catch a limit of bass. It's going to be real tough today. We got cold front conditions. The clouds and storms went away, so I'm just going to go out and go fishing. I'm probably not going to start for big fish just because the tide's real high, but I've got areas that are holding fish, and I'm just going to go catch them.
I'm going to go out today and just go fishing and have a lot of fun today. I mean, that's the whole part of this game. I'm not competing against the anglers. I'm competing against the fish, and just want to go out and catch them and have fun and make it back in safe.
Do you think it's possible to catch Robert today?
Not a chance. Well, you know, he didn't make it back or something, but no, Robert's just got it made. I mean, he's just in a league by himself right now. That's all I got to say. I'm fishing for second place, so let's put it that way. So.
All right, Fish, back to you.
The California Delta is actually a man-made fishery. Built over a 60-year period, some 700,000 acres of land was reclaimed through the construction of miles of canals during that time. The canal system effectively connects the 5 rivers that meet here. Over time, many of the canals have become lined with tules and other vegetation. Waves and tides have washed out some dikes to form small islands, and still other levees have decayed and broken to form small lakes. Although bass can come from virtually anywhere in this maze, a number of spots consistently work well. We'll show you where the leaders are fishing and go out on the water for some big bass action when we return.
Bassmasters, brought to you by Long John Silver's. You can't resist the cravings. Evertroll, stay out longer, catch more fish. Pennzoil Marine, it's the right equipment for fishing. Berkeley Trilene, catch more fish. And by Bass Pro Shops, the world's leading supplier of premium fishing tackle.
Today is what you call your classic cold front. And pretty much every bass fisherman hates to fish on a cold front day. And gonna have clear bluebird sky, cold air. The water temperature's dropped about 6 degrees. And these shallow fish don't like that. And they get lockjaw. But we're gonna fish hard, try to make some of the fish bite with weightless worms, crankbaits, and flipping. And I caught that big limit on the first day of the incoming front, you know, and that's prime. And then yesterday was the second day of the storm, and that's okay. But the day after the storm is not okay. That's the toughest day there is.
I think with the weather front that came through the last time, I think it actually, I think these fish will move off the bed a hair and just pick up the opportunity to feed. But no, they bed. They're all bedding. And actually, I swear that they bed in a lot more turbulent waters than we give them credit for. I've seen they'll be right out on the edge of the raging current bedding. I'm sure they are. Just by the way they hit, you get that little teeny tick, tick, tick bite, and they don't want to pick it up.
Because in the Delta, there's so much current that there's not a lot of really actual places for them to spawn unless it's a moss flat, you know. Right. And here, with the way the tide is so radically changed by the forebay, all the water they're taking down south, these fish have to kind of get a spot that is not going to be out of the water just because Southern California needs about, you know, all the half the water up here. And that's really affected the south down here, really has. It just, the amount of water that's leaving down here now is just incredible. I mean, you can come down here and it's supposed to be the top of the incoming tide and it's 5 feet down. I mean, you got a minus tide down here. That's how much water is leaving out.
because after this cold front and high bluebird sky days, usually positions these fish a whole lot different, moves them, backs them off, and hopefully fishing these protected areas where the water's just a little bit clearer, they haven't been too much hindrance on the rain. And plus I'm thinking that this water being a little bit clearer will be a little bit warmer and more adapt to me catching a few more fish.
He'd hit it real hard and run with it. Just like he's trying to move it off the bed. Well, I hope there's a female sitting down there, a lot bigger than this, but...
I'll take him. Oh. 2-pounder on a day like this with a 13-pound lead, 4 more, I'll be happy.
Hey, fish, this California Delta, it's an amazing fishery. You know, there's over 700,000 acres of water for these anglers to fish on, and then you take all the canals, tributaries, ponds. I mean, it is like Swiss cheese out there.
It truly is a maze, Reed, but what the guys are going to have to do is concentrate. There's 1,000 miles of fishable water. They've got to find the sweet spots in all of this, and they've got to really focus on those areas for 3 days of competition. The San Joaquin and the Sacramento rivers come together to form the Delta, and it dumps into the Pacific Ocean at San Francisco. Let's take a look right now at where our top anglers are fishing.
Robert Lee is leading this event. Now, he's won here twice before. He's got over 55 pounds of bass. He's decided to target the Disappointment and White Slough area on the final day. Now, fish, can anybody catch him?
Reed, normally I would say there's no way, but you know, in the past we've had huge record-breaking catches here. We've seen giant fish brought in, so it's anybody's game. But Tim Eddington's going to have to make up over 13 pounds to catch him. He's got 41-14 coming into this final round, and he's in the Rock Slough area. Now, Steve Sapp is another contender that could win this thing with 41.5. He's starting in Sugar Cut. It's an area that a lot of the other anglers won't go into because it's pretty treacherous. He did mention that if the conditions change, he'll make a move.
A guy that grew up in this area is Ish Monroe. Now, he's in the 4th spot with 40 pounds, 5 ounces, and he's decided to fish the Mildred's Island area. And then a guy that had a huge bag on day 2, Steve Jeff, he's starting around Hayes Reach and has 38 pounds, 8 ounces.
There's a hit. Hot fish.
If the weather stays like this, real calm, and that sun gets out and gets real hot like it should in the end of April, these fish will turn on fast this afternoon, and we should be able to catch 2 to 3 pounders easy. The top surface layer will warm up a couple degrees by the afternoon. I got a weight lay-in flight. They start to move up and suspend in the grass, and we'll be able to catch them. Stay on, baby. Stay on. Yes. That's why you got to save spots for the last day in case you're leading the tournament. I saved this spot for the last day in case I was doing good and I had a big cold front, because I deem that it's the most protected spot that I have as far as the wind and the weather. And I thought the water would stay warmer, which it hasn't, but the fish haven't seemed to mind it too much.
The water temp's definitely affected. The water temp's cooled off about 2 degrees, and for me, that's been like the key, because the water temperature yesterday started out at 58.3 degrees. I found that out on my Lowrance X15, and then the day before it read 59 degrees, and it hit 61, and that's when the bite on the frog just really turned real good. So it's about 50, getting close to 58 now, so that's why I said later in the day, and I'm hoping here in the next hour it can warm up another degree or 2 and, you know, change these fish. Nope.
Little bugger.
What I've been fishing is these isolated tule berms, and seeing as how we had that major cold front come in yesterday, and in some areas it cooled our water down as much as 6 degrees, the fish are kind of sluggish, and so what I'm doing is I'm throwing a riverside tube on an 1/8 ounce brass, and I'm letting it sit down in the spot and just let it sit there, and then once it sits there a little bit, in case there's a bedding fish in that area, she'll pick it up. And if not, I'm twitching it like it's getting away, and my bites are either coming on the fall or after it just sits there for a little bit.
Well, basically what I've been doing is just a little bit of everything. Coming into this tournament, I really wasn't on any fish at all. As far as just having spots where I know I could go and catch some. I'm just fortunate I have a lot of experience on this river, and I have a lot of spots, and I've just been kind of history fishing, just running all around the delta, burning a lot of gas, just fishing spots that I know have held them in the past, and working real hard. I mean, I'm doing everything from flipping and catching them on weightless worms when the wind allows. I caught a few frogfish the first day. I'm gonna try and concentrate more on the flip bite today because we're faced with post-front conditions. I have a feeling the fish aren't going to be quite as active. So I'm going to try and bring it down into to them because I don't think they're going to come out and get it. For the most part, probably the difference has been I've been trying to concentrate on slightly deeper fish. One's off the bank a little bit. The 5 to 8 foot zone seems to be where the better quality of fish have been for me.
2001 Bassmasters Tournament Trail, presented by Long John Silver's.
Hey, Fish, one of the great things about the Delta is that almost any type of fisherman can feel at home here. I mean, there's deep water, there's shallow water, there's grass, there's rocks, and it kind of suits almost all types of fishing.
It really does, Reed. You know, you can use any lure that you want here, but there are some key baits that work best here in the spring. Let's take a look at those. Well, plastic worms and lizards are always good bets here to pitch around the tules and the rocks along the canal banks, but out in the open water, lipless crankbaits are also excellent choices. And in some of the lakes where the logs and laydowns are visible in the shallow water, topwater frogs and rats can be used. Now, and if there's one great equalizer here in the Delta, it's the tide. Some prefer the outgoing tides that pull the bass away from the shoreline vegetation, where they become more susceptible to crankbaits and topwaters, while other anglers really prefer the incoming tide, which lets them pitch and flip soft plastics to a variety of different types of vegetation.
First, with the spider wire, I'm using this 40-pound spider wire, and you have to use a double Palomar knot because spider wire is so slick that it'll pull out a regular Palomar. So we use two overhand knots to tie the Palomar knot on there with a 5/0 hook. It adds a little bit of weight to get the Cinco to drop down there, and it's stiff enough. We're fishing so close to the fish, you're setting the hook almost at point blank, and you don't want to straighten it out. Adds a little bit of weight. And then just taking the Cinco, it has 2 ends. I can use either end and just place it in there about 1/4 inch with the Gamakatsu extra wide gap hook. You got to auger out the inside of the back, because you have to allow this part of the hook to move forward in the bait. But you don't want to go all the way through it, because in these heavy tules and the heavy grass, you need to have this nice flat portion up here so you can bury that hook point.
So you're just skin hooking it then once you get the point through?
Yeah, but you need to auger it out down here, you know, grind it out just a little bit so the hook has enough room to move. And with the spider wire and this 5/0 hook, I haven't lost a fish yet, and that's what I strive for. Is just, you know, you're gonna miss a few bites, and I understand that, and that's okay. But losing a fish is inexcusable here. So far this year, in Bassmasters, I've lost 2 fish, and both of them cost me thousands of dollars, and I can't have that.
You know, I hear a lot of the locals talk about the Delta, that if the water's not moving, the bite's no good. You know, tide's either got to be coming in or out, so I don't know. Maybe that's why we're not doing anything.
The relationship that fish, like out in Frank's Track and those areas like that, just, you know, the tide's pretty consistent and stable. But you take like the San Joaquin River right now is only running about 16,000 cubic feet. And between the Forebay and the Delta Mendota and all those, they're taking about 24,000. So the San Joaquin River never gets to the ocean. It's all going down south, so it has a real effect on it up here.
Oh, baby.
It's kind of neat down here on the Delta because where I live in Portland, we've got some largemouth on the Columbia River system, but it's not quite the same. This is so broad and so expansive, whereas at home we just have the system with a few small sloughs, and back home we key on the outgoing tide, and I always do better the lower it gets. It positions the fish better. And down here, everybody wants lots of water. I mean, you fish the outside breaks when the water's low, you fish the weed lines, and here, and when the tide comes in, you fish the tulies. And at home, we just look for, we can see our structure when the water goes down, and because of the current, it positions the fish. So this is truly an awesome fishery. I mean, any hook set can literally, you know, be that 10-pounder.
Michael Anselmo, Round Rock, Texas. What artificial lures work best for fishing small ponds? Michael Anselmo, Round Rock, Texas. What artificial lures work best for fishing small ponds?
Michael, that's a good question. What are the best lures for fishing small ponds? For me, it's spinner baits and crankbaits. I especially like a small spinner bait like the Strike King Premier Elite in a 1/8 ounce. Chartreuse and white with a gold number 4 willow leaf blade is dynamite on small ponds. My other choice is a little crankbait. A Strike King Series 1. It will run about 3 to 4 feet of water. It comes through a cover relatively well for a crankbait. And both of these lures let the water color, the clarity of the water, tell you which colors to select. The more stained the water is, go with your chartreuses, and the clearer the water is, go with your shads and your whites, and you won't go wrong.
Send your answer line question to Bassmaster Answer Line, 5845 Carmichael Road, Montgomery, Alabama 36117. Please include a picture with name, address, and telephone number.
Well, like most of the other BASS events here in the West, we've seen changing conditions this week. On day one, overcast and cloudy with just a hint of drizzle in the air. Then on yesterday, tremendous downpours, lots of fresh water dumping into the Delta, and changing conditions even today. Bright, beautiful bluebird skies, but we've had cooling weather conditions due to the front. We see the water and air temperatures both in the low to mid 50s. Now, right back here behind me, Greg Morse in the 6th position coming into the final round of competition is right here in this slough that's pretty shallow. The water temperatures have cooled down substantially. I'm going to go over there and pay him a visit and see if he's catching any fish to try to come in and win this thing from the 6th spot.
The Delta's been good the last 2 days, and what we're doing right now is we're fishing this point here. We got a slough that goes back behind us here where the current runs back and forth on. These fish are moving up from the lake here back into these sloughs to spawn. These are just the staging points here all the way through and down this way. Been catching fish on.
These grass beds that you're fishing, do you fish them year-round, or is it just a springtime pattern?
You can fish them year-round. When they get too grass and the grass gets real thick, we'll throw the topwater frogs when we catch them.
How much does the tide play a factor here on the Delta?
Well, if you're going to pan the camera and you look at the tulies here, you see where it's stained up about 2 feet right there. So the water will come up 2 feet. And the tide's not completely out yet.
So you really watch the tide chart?
Yeah.
And you make your moves accordingly?
Correct.
Where will you go from here? This has been your hot area this week.
I think I'm going to have to leave it here in just a little bit because we're pretty dry here now. Maybe come back this afternoon when the tide comes up, because what happens here is when you get the high skies, the fish will move up tight and get in those clumps of tulies, and you have to flip them. They won't be out here roaming.
Yeah. Yeah, nice fish. Oh yeah.
Start.
Cinco. Okay.
Actually, when the current gets up high enough to where it's just really moving that water in behind the grass bed, between the rock wall and the grass bed, these fish will just sit in this grass bed and stare at the wall. It's like a movie screen. This stuff's just going right by them, and you know, 20. Got him. Get net, net, net. Okay, here we go. Go, come on. Okay. All right, thank you, thank you. Ooh, that's better fish there, yeah. See, this is a spawning male. You see the way they always have that coloration of they're white with the black line, and you know, you can tell that that's a male buck spawner out here. He hasn't been doing it long. He doesn't have the red tail or anything. He doesn't have all the scars of a spawning fish yet.
Like you kind of see this clearing coming up here right in between the weeds. Probably either a bed there or just a nice little area, ambush area for a fish to be in. So I've been taking the Cinco and throwing it up in the bigger open areas, and in the smaller opening areas, I've been fishing the Riverside Woolly Hog. Basically, it's got some ribs on it. It's a real nice bait. It's got some flaps here. It's got a little twin tail. So out here on the Delta in this stained water, when you're flipping this bait up in the tulies and in the grass, it gives a lot of water movement, a lot of vibration, and the fish can find it. One thing I do really like about the bait is it's been scented with yum, so they also can smell it. So when you can start appealing to all the senses of the bass, the sight, the feel, and the smell, you can have better odds at catching more fish on this bait.
Oh, there's a hit. It's not real big, but he'll do. Come on, over here. Whoops. Okay. All right, thank you.
Good stretch for bites. I know they're here because they were here the other day.
That one is.
Yep, I let it sink all the way to the bottom. He took off with it.
The Bassmaster's Pro Tip, brought to you by Evertroll.
When fishing tidal water such as the California Delta, one thing you want to keep in mind is boat positioning. We're dealing with tidal water going in and out, and with that, we got a lot of current. One thing you want to do, keep the boat facing into the current when you can. This will allow you to slow down your presentation, be much more accurate on the cover you're fishing, and get a much more natural presentation with your bait working back down with the current by casting up, working it back. You get that natural presentation. So fishing tidal water, keep that in mind. Good luck fishing.
The California Delta is known for its incredible bass fishing, but on days like today, it can be brutal. A cold front, fluctuating tides, and now bright blue skies has turned the Delta against 300 of the top Bassmaster Western pros. Just 2 days ago, it was producing 30-pound stringers. Today, our leaders are struggling. Tim Eddington in second and Steve Jeffs in fifth are both trying hard to adapt to the changing conditions. Tim has fallen way back with only one fish, while Steve has put just 3 small fish in the boat. Steve Sapp and Ish Monroe started the day only 1 pound apart. Both have put limits in the boat, but not enough to catch our leader, Robert Lee. Robert has 4 fish weighing close to 12 pounds and seemingly is on his way to a 3rd straight California Delta victory. But 2nd through 10th is still up for grabs, and the biggest challenge is coming from Gary Yexley. Gary started in the 14th position and currently has 5 fish weighing close to 15 pounds.
Right now, I've been very fortunate this morning with Dawn. I've got, on my water first thing this morning, we got some nice fish, but I've got one small fish in my limit, so I'm trying to get that one more kicker fish, as they say. And if I can get rid of that one, I feel like I've got a shot. My goal was 30 pounds a day. So far, I haven't got that great big one, but I'm very satisfied with the way I've been performing today. I've only lost one fish in the whole tournament, and he would have only gave me another pound. So we're trying hard. We're trying to slow down, but it's really hard to slow down because you keep wanting to cast faster and faster and faster to try to get your line in the water more often, but slow is the key. Slow is the key. Here in a couple more days when the weather, like what we have right now, stays the way it is, these fish are going to move up and they're going to be very aggressive.
So Greg, you've lived here for 20 years. Is the fishery better than it was?
Yes, it's gotten better, a lot better.
Why is that?
I think the Floridas have finally taken over in this place. Years ago, we used to get a 15 or 16 pound limit. That was a big limit, and a big fish was 6 to 7 pounds. Now we're seeing 10s, 11s, 12s. Even last year there was a couple 15s caught.
And are they all over the system?
No, they're not all over the system. It seems like the bigger fish are coming from the middle part of the delta in the south.
Now, how much does the salt intrusion play a factor here?
Here it can play a big part because as 20 miles as a crow flies is the salt water. And this can get really bad with salt during the summertime.
How about tide fluctuations? Important?
Very important. Very important. I'm a high water fisherman, but these fish seem like they've been eating on low water, so I've been sticking it out on the low tide.
And will you move if it doesn't pan out here in the next?
Yes, we're going to move pretty quick.
A little bit better, getting closer to that 2-pounder range. Sometimes it just takes throwing something a little bit different in there to get them going. So that's what I call a hook. Through in, back out another side. Still not the size fish to win, but every little bit helps.
I changed it. I had a Cinco rigged and a floating worm. And I've noticed that, and so has my partner, we've noticed that usually they'll come up and flash at that floating worm. And you either see a boil or you see the fish eat it or whatever. But I've been having to let it sink all the way to the bottom before they'll take it. And my partner's been letting his go all the way to the bottom before they'll take it too. So I'm tried a Cinco because of the fact that, you know, it sinks. It sinks about a foot a second. It's only 2 foot deep back, or 3 foot deep back there. And maybe not a foot a second, 6 inches a second. It'll get to the bottom in a few seconds. Without weightless worm, it just basically goes a foot deep no matter what happens. You know, you can let it sink to the bottom, but it takes forever.
Yeah. It's not a big fish. I'll get it. It's not the same one. Huh? Yep. Take care of that little one. Yeah, take the front.
Got him.
How about that? Now, I am good luck.
Stay around, don't leave.
Man, I would have worked the net, but I'm not supposed to. Here, let me get the live well lid.
That's not even 12 inches.
Is it your side?
Yes,
All
that's
right,
my
let's
side.
not create confusion. He's going to have to measure this fish. They have to be 12 inches, and the official measurement is 13 and a half. That's a keeper. In the box he goes for number 3. Get back to work. Let's go. Pick up the pace. The good luck charm is in the house.
The 2001 Bassmasters Tournament Trail, presented by Long John Silver's. This is the Bassmaster Western Invitational. Brought to you by Evertroll.
Hey, this feels good. Dawn, you better get to that. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. This is the kicker. This is the one I want. And I lost the tube. There you go. That'll do it. That'll give me 20 pounds. Thank you, Lord.
It's kind of hard to see, but you can just kind of go down through here and see these just little light patches. There's a better one. Getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Right here, Bob. Get him for me. Thank you. Yes, it's number 5. Thanks, Bob.
You didn't want to use that net.
Well, when I said I'll yell for it.
Yeah, good fish.
Yeah, 4-pound fish.
Look at here.
Mwah. That's just off the floor.
That was hooked on his tail.
Caught an 8-pounder there yesterday. That's beautiful bass today.
Pretty bad.
Whew. That's 5. Now these guys are going down.
There's a familiar name on the BASS circuit that is not here at the California Delta, and that's Dean Rojas. He's been here the last couple years, but he's not here this week because he's won back-to-back top 150s. He's so busy right now, we had a chance to catch up with him in Lake Havasu City, side of the London Bridge.
Beyond the Tournament Trail, presented by Long John Silver's.
Well, I had planned on fishing the Westerns this year, the 2001 season, but with our schedule with the WCFs last year compiling and late in the year, it made it difficult, and I was able to skip one of them. We decided to sit out the Lake Shasta event just because there was just too much strain on it as it was. And that last WCF event that we had really was a turning point in my career. We were fishing a lake called Guess Creek, which is in Kentucky. It was a small reservoir. Well, I went back to it, didn't catch anything, and at about 10 o'clock in the morning, I went by it again. And at that time, there was a lot of spectator boats that were, watching the anglers, and I had this one.
No matter what he sets out to do, and been that way the whole time we'd been together, it got done. No matter how he had to go about doing it. Legally, of course.
Yeah.
But I knew that he was going to make it.
I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to keep fighting and grabbing as much as I can, and I want to make this sport as big as it can possibly. It's real special. It's precious.
The anglers are coming into the docks and the crowds are building behind me at the weigh-in stage. Now the question of the day, will Robert Lee's 14-pound lead hold? And will he be able to win his 3rd consecutive tournament in a row on the California Delta? We'll answer these questions and many more when the Bassmasters returns.
Nice bags. He's in 2nd place in the points division. We saw Tyler come in already. He had a limit. He's holding it down right now. Skeet, is this going to do it?
I don't know. I know it's going to put me in the Classic, so I'm happy about that.
There you go. Let's watch the scale. Skeet Reese a limit. Big weight, 23 pounds.
Yeah!
And 10 ounces, 23.10. Skeet is heading to New Orleans, Louisiana. Man, oh man, he just locked down the Bassmasters Classic. There is the reason why. Man, oh man. Skeet has done it again. Skeet was in 27th place in this tournament, and with that creel, it is going to blow you way up towards the top 5, if not higher. Skeet, what a show. What did you do today?
I punted. Thanks, Pat. I had an area in practice where I got a few big bites, and I actually guided the last 2 days. My partners, every time I go in there, my partners catch like a 7-pounder, and I'd leave there empty-handed. I catch some little ones, and went in there today, started flipping. I caught a limit by about 8:30. Had one decent one. I had more weight than I thought, probably about a 4-pounder. And I was going down the bank, and it just looked right. I really thought fishing was going to be a lot tougher today with that cold front we had yesterday, but conditions seemed right. So I picked up my Terminator buzzbait, fired it down the bank. Boom! Folks, it scared the death out of me. That's all I know. I put the second biggest one in the boat, and I was fired up at that point. I felt like that fish put me in the Classic. And I didn't go about 5 more minutes. I threw it out there. And this thing just ripped through the grass. I'm like, get the net, please, hurry, hurry. I put it in the net, and I mean, I knew right then and there that was it. I was fired up. So,
you made it.
I think so.
You're going, baby. Great job.
Thanks, Fish.
Skeet Reese, man, oh man. There you go. All right, my man. Let's move along. Gary has got a load in there. Now, just one bag, but one of our biggest one-baggers we've seen.
Is it?
That is, I'm going to have to make a guess on that. Gary, that is over 17 pounds.
It's not going to cost me $1, is it?
No. You want to guess?
No.
Okay, go 17. Look at that. 19 pounds, 9 ounces, 19.9. Baby, I'm glad I was short. Pick a couple of them up. Look at this. Gary, actually, they're all twins. There's not a real big fish in the bunch. All of them 4 pounds, just about. Golly. Caught them on
a Riverside tube and a Cinco.
Excellent. 2 bass. All right. We may find out more about that today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great show. Man, oh man, 19 plus pounds.
The Bassmasters, brought to you by Long John Silver's. You can't resist the cravings. Evertroll, stay out longer, catch more fish. Flowmaster, the exhaust technology company. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. And by Motor Guide. With Motor Guide, you can take on the world.
All right, here he is, folks, from Arizona in the number 4 spot, Ish Monroe. Yeah. Ish, baby.
Hey, Fish, how's it going?
It's going great, but not as good as you. How many are in there?
I got 5 in there.
5 bass. He's going to make a charge. He had coming in 40 pounds and 5 ounces. Here we go. Watch his weight. Go scale. 13 pounds and 6 ounces. 13.6-ish. That might do it. We're going to have to get a calculation, pick a couple of them up. There is a 3+ pounder in his right hand and 1 over 2 in his left. He had a trolling motor problem this morning. Did you get it fixed?
Yeah, I got it fixed. We started out there today. I went to, pulled up on my first spot, couldn't catch them. Going, Things have changed. Water's colder, water's a little bit muddier. What did I do? I said, well, time to go catch the limit spot. Run to my limit spot, catch the limit in about 30 minutes.
Ish, you made a huge charge now. You're all the way up there. You're in the top 5 for sure. Are you going to make it back to the Classic?
No, I'm not, Fish, this year. I'm kind of upset about that. Just looking forward to next year. We're going to some great lakes. Columbia River is going to be great. Clear Lake's going to be real great. We'll see some monster weights again there this year, and hopefully the weather crops right with us, and we'll catch a lot of fish. And also I want... No, I'm joking, Fish.
There you go, Ish. Great weed. There he's gone. Man, he loves to talk. We know he's got a shot at this thing. Steve, you had a great week. Did you bring me 5?
I brought 5.
You are currently in 3rd place. Do you remember you had 41.5 for 2 days?
Right, 41, but I don't know about this.
Get ready to see him. Will he take the lead right now? Watch the weight. Come on, Scales. We got to need 15 plus. 16 pounds, 4 ounces. That just might have taken the lead. Let me see a couple of those fish. Sap, pick a couple of them up. Man, oh man. Talking to all of the other anglers this morning at the boat ramp, they said you better watch Sap. He's won a lot of boats in this region, and it looks like he might have just won another Ranger boat. We give 3 of them away here. Can you tell me a little bit about your week?
Oh, I don't know. It was a tough week in a sense with the weather and everything. The bite changed so drastically today. Everything went kind of as planned on Thursday, and then Friday we made some adjustments, started fishing a little bit deeper, a lot slower, and that was probably the key. Had a buck, the guy I fished with yesterday was just outstanding, and the cooperation from all 3, Jason and Casey and Buck, we had a great time. All of us had a good time, had a lot of fun, and we all cooperated. I mean, it was just great. It's like teamwork.
Now, when the weather turns sour here, as much as you fish here, is that good for you?
Usually. But today, I ran out of things to do. Nothing like the Delta, because no matter what, it's going to stump everybody sooner or later.
All right, Steve, great show.
Thank you.
There you go, the Sap Man making a big charge towards the top. Folks, here he is, the leader of the tournament, Robert Lee. Come on up here, Robert.
Hi.
Man, oh man. Okay, he's gonna have some weight. A lot of it. Folks, watch the weight right now for the man leading it after 2 days. Scales, Reed, 15 pounds, 9 ounces. That moves him in the #1 spot. 15-9, pick him up. We got a new leader. Ooh, 15.9 on top of 55.9. Somebody do the math. It's like 400 pounds. What is going on, man? You did it 3 days in a row, even with the changing weather conditions.
Well, today was totally brutal. These are the days I dread on the Delta. I've been here before when it's like this, and I've dropped the ball and lost the tournament. And this time, I wasn't prepared for that to happen. I'm happy with what I caught. I felt like I could have weighed in 18 pounds, but I just didn't get that one more good bite.
Now, the big fish this week, what did they come on? Did they also come on that trick worm?
No. Every big fish that I caught in this tournament was flipping. And the only reason I caught all those big fish was the bait that I was throwing and the water I was fishing. But I figured out a bait that the fish really wanted that they hadn't seen yet. And they ate it. Man, when they ate it, the rod just jerked out of your hand. I mean, they just flipping there and bam! Yeah, I'm out. Oh my God.
Get the net!
Yeah, I'd say get the net before he set the hook. Because when they were, you know, when they bit that hard, I knew they weren't 2-pounders. They were 6s, 7s, and 8s.
Give this guy a great big round of applause. 71 pounds and 2 ounces, Robert Lee. Robert Lee. The awards presentation, Dewey Kinder presents him with his Bassmaster Tournament Trail Trophy and his Ranger 488. Right back here with a 200 horsepower Mercury outboard. Right back there, a big round of applause for your champion. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the final Bassmasters Western Invitational from Oakley, California. Now let's take a look at your top 10 leaderboard. Robert Lee, 71 pounds, 2 ounces. Steve Sapp, 57 pounds, 9 ounces. Gary Yexley, 54.5. Ish Monroe, 53.11. Skeet Reese, 53.8. Jimmy Reese, John Prevost, Steve Jeffs, Jerry Ballesteros, and Larry Hopper, 49 pounds, 3 ounces. The Bass Angler Sportsman Society awards the Points Leader Championship in each division. Well, here in the West, after 4 events, here he is. The points champion, Skeet Reese. Skeet, come on up. Congratulations You did it, man. 4 events you held on this season.
I'm relieved. That's all I know. It's been a wild ride this season. I'll tell you what, to have 4 top 10 finishes and with 3 top 10s going into the last tournament and only having a 2-point lead, there's a little bit of pressure. And only having 12 points over 5th place to make the Classic, nothing was wrapped up this week for any of the fishermen. We all had to go out and do our work. And fortunately, I came out on top. I'm tickled to death to do that. My hat's off to the rest of the guys that qualified for the Classic. They did a great job. I would have loved to see my brother make the Classic this year. It would have been pretty incredible to have 2 brothers in the Bassmasters Classic in New Orleans, especially where we have family.
Setting them up over on the East Coast as well on the top 150 circuit. A great deal this week. Hold up that plaque one more time. There's your points leader for the 4 Western events, Skeet Reese. Over in the Central Division, the final Central Invitational of the season concluded today. Now let's take a look at the top 5 Bassmasters Classic qualifiers. Jay Yellis, Todd Fairclough, Kelly Jordan, Scott Rook, Keith Green. And here's a look at your top 10 from the Central Invitational. For myself, Fish Fishburne, and my co-host, Reed Ryan, we say goodbye for the Bassmasters from Oakley, California. Good shot right there. Right back. There is a
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.